Got it. I mean, I think building rapport is integral to every sale. There's got to be some level of human connection. And at Ascent, there's basically three of us that are in sales. So
Yeah.
myself, I've always been in sales. Since the beginning, I had to be in sales. And I was not a born salesman. I've learned and through trial and error and training and courses how to sell. And then I have two partners, who are minority partners. They also handle and take sales calls and generate their own books of business.
Hey guys, welcome to the Grow IT podcast. Your host here, Alessandro Cutri, joined today by none other than Adam Cooper, the founder and CEO over at Ascent Consulting. Today's going to be an interesting episode, guys. Make sure to buckle on. We're going to be talking business development, marketing, sales, everything of that sort, and giving you some actionable insights that you can actually take away in terms of what is really working in today's market. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass it over to Adam. Adam, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and telling the audience a little bit about your background and then what led you to starting Ascent Consulting.
Sure. Thanks, Alessandro. Great to be with you today. Thanks for having me join you on your podcast.
Of course.
Um, my background, I got out of college and went into construction. I started out in the field, actually as an electrician, working on big resident or commercial and industrial projects, kind of worked my way through the ranks up into like superintendent, then project manager, eventually a divisional manager. Had my own electrical contracting company for a number of years based in Atlanta, Georgia. And then after about 22, 23 years in the industry, I really just got tired of walking on job sites, putting on a hard hat and work boots and getting muddy on job sites. And I thought there might be a better way to use my experience, my skills, my knowledge, my intellect to better the industry. And so I had this idea to start a consulting agency
Mm-hmm.
where I could help small to mid-sized contractors learn the tricks that I learned when I worked at big national contractors, teach them how to like standardize and systematize things in their business. When I worked at these big national companies, there might have been 50 or 100 project managers spread across the country. We all did things the same way. We used the same software. We had the same processes. The same reports were due every time, every month. It was just a routine. And they systematized as much of the industry and their business as they could. And I thought, why not take that and replicate that back to teach clients how to do that? I
Yeah.
wish I had known that when I had my company. I was doing a lot of it on my own, and then I went to work for bigger companies and saw how they did it. A lot of small to mid-sized construction companies, their leadership has never worked anywhere else. They were in the
Yeah.
field and said, "Well, I'll just start my own company," and they went out on their own and they grew it. And so now a lot of our clients have never seen how a big, you know, systematized, scaled up construction company really operates, and we bring that insight to them and teach them how to and do that at their businesses and make them scalable as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I always love talking to founders who've experienced the practical problems that they're then, building out a solution for or helping them, helping one of like they went through the challenges beforehand and then they're able to develop a product that's able to help out their former self, right? So I always love that.
Right.
And it goes to show that there's almost like instantly product market fit in that sense because you actually experience the problems yourself, right? And
Exactly.
so would love for you to kind of just share a little, maybe story. You don't have to obviously drop any names here, but like of a customer that you guys have worked with and how you're able to maybe transform some of either their operations or really just their company.
Got it. Oh, there's been so many over the years. I've been doing this for over a decade now, and I counted it up. The company's worked with over 300 construction companies now in 10 years, and probably close to 200 of them were my clients. So, um,
Hmm.
I'll give you kind of a typical example. So,
Yeah.
a general contractor, a commercial general contractor, they build, say, like restaurants, retail shops, auto dealerships, those kind of mid-sized commercial projects. They're not building huge high rises, but they're building office buildings and functional commercial properties.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, let's say they're 25, 30 million in annual revenue. They're still running on QuickBooks. They're using uh, Dropbox or SharePoint and OneDrive. They're using Microsoft Teams. They've got a bunch of different Excel workbooks that they're using, and they're literally managing millions of dollars worth of risk. Construction projects are really risk because you're buying and selling materials, you're paying people to install stuff, you're trying to get
Yeah.
things produced on a schedule. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
managing multi-million dollar projects with email and some Excel spreadsheets and a very basic accounting system. And you don't have the data, you don't have good reports, they're not actionable. They're kind of hindsight reports. How did we do, not how are we doing? And
Yeah.
and they come to us and they go, there's got to be a better way. Can you help me make this make sense? I'm doing all this work, I've got money, but I don't have any way to do like a forecast. I can't project how things are going to go. When projects go south, we didn't know it till it was already too late to fix it.
Yeah.
And I'm also working 60 hours a week and I can't keep up. Can you help me
Yeah.
with all of that? And so we would come in and we'll spend a little time doing discovery and learning how their business currently operates so we can design something that's kind of best in class for the industry that would fit their business.
Yeah.
And there is no cookie cutter solution, but there are certainly building blocks that we use that are consistent across companies. There's certain things that we do that are just industry best practice that we can plug in a new process, a new workflow, and design those things.
Yeah.
And over a course of, say, 6 to 12 months, completely transform their organization, get them into better technology, get them into some platforms that talk to each other, that integrate or have APIs, generate and standardize those reports, teach them how to use it, train their people on everything, and
Yeah.
really help them integrate these new processes, this new way of operating into their
Yeah.
business. So by the time we're
Yeah.
done, it's been a transformative process. They've gone from this old way of doing things to this new way of doing things, and we've done it collaboratively with them.
And yeah, and I love that. It's you're tackling one of those, those big issues there, right? That a lot of these, we'll say that, the construction companies, they're the backbone of building, all these different types of commercial offices or, commercial spaces, but oftentimes they're not as tech savvy or they're not as, developed in that, in that category, right? So having something that obviously addresses those weaknesses allows for so much more operational efficiency, which increases the profit margins, right? Which is ultimately what you're trying to do over here, right? So I can appreciate
Yep.
that, and I could tell based upon how fast you guys have grown and the growth that you guys had that it's obviously resonating with folks, right? And so that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you a little bit about, like you guys started from just yourself, right? You just were a one-man shop to now over about 20 different team members. You're servicing multiple clients. Like what's really helped you guys grow your company as quickly as you have?
Got it. Oh, uh, so for me as the founder, it all started with me sitting in my one bedroom apartment, starting this company and going, well, how am I going to get some clients? I have a network in Atlanta, but if I
Hmm.
want to build a company that works nationally, I, I need people to know that I exist. My biggest competition is anonymity. Nobody knows me.
Yeah.
Nobody knows me outside of my sphere of influence, right? My people
Yeah.
I've worked with, projects I've done. So and this is going back a little over 10 years ago. I I basically said, well, I've got to leverage the internet. And the best way to do that is with Google and content. So I started writing content. I put up a website. I started writing blog articles that were about specific things that I had encountered in construction and how I solved them, or how other companies I worked at solved them. How did I see things being done at big companies? How were they succeeding where other small companies were failing? And trying to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit
Hmm.
on how the most successful companies are handling these things.
Yeah.
How do they get better discounts on material? How do they manage project labor? How do they do change orders so that they always get approved? All these kind of building blocks in construction, the blocking
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tackling we sometimes refer to it as.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to some trade publications like Electrical Contractor and Construction Executive, and I said, "Hey, I do you guys accept content from outsiders? Like I've written some stuff that you might that might be worth publishing in your magazines."
Hmm.
And I got accepted, and I got some of my articles published in those, and they linked back to my website and they put it up on their website. So now I'm building backlinks, and I started getting traffic on my website, and then I
Yeah.
started building it out from there. It was always, for me, it's always about content marketing. And then I guess now they call it pillar based content marketing. I
Hmm.
kind of did that in year two, not knowing that that was what they were eventually going to call it. But I kind of created
Yeah.
categories for my content and started building out subcategories and writing articles to kind of
Yeah.
fill out this tree full of content.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has been I think ideally that has been the driver of all the growth that we've experienced, because without sales, there is no growth, there is no business. So it
Yeah.
was all about generating sales. And then I've been very measured in growing the team to keep up with sales. I rarely grow the team past the point of the revenue. I always let revenue lead the decision process, lead the timing on hiring.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart methodology. That it's definitely the safest methodology to follow, right? I always prefer lean teams as I've, continued to grow our business. I've realized that it's because I've tried hiring before the growth, expecting growth, and then you have people kind of sitting, waiting, and twiddling on their thumbs.
Right.
And I've always had a philosophy moving forward that I'd always prefer to hire with a once the need is there, rather than,
Right.
and even if I have to wait 2 months or a month or two to get that new person in, I'd rather do that than having to bring someone in and then them sitting around and then you end up having a fat team instead of having this lean operational team. And so I agree with you in that philosophy as well. And yeah, I think content is king. Content is one of those things that you need to be prioritizing as a business owner and thinking about, how can I plant the seed today that's going to bear fruit within the next, 6, 12, even 24, 36 months, right? Because the beautiful thing about content is it's evergreen, right? You create
If
one
you
piece
write
of
it
content.
well.
Yeah, if you write it well,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you do valuable content, right? And so
Right.
it's important to, put that investment of time into there. So obviously there's the marketing front, right, that we talked about. And obviously you had alluded to even sales, but we talk about a lot over here, like in terms of relationships and building those relationships with your key, ideal prospects. What has that been like for you guys? Like, what is your view of terms of like building relationships and, in the overall sales process?
Got it. I mean, I think building rapport is integral to every sale. There's got to be some level of human connection. And um, at, at Ascent, there's basically three of us that are in sales. So
Yeah.
myself, I've always been in sales. Every since the beginning, I had to be in sales,
Yeah.
and I was not a born salesman. I've learned and through trial and error and training and courses how to sell.
Yeah.
And then I have two partners, two junior partners, we're minority partners. They also handle and take sales calls and generate their own books of business.
Yeah.
But I have found, especially in construction folks they're not overly trusting without some type of rapport. You have
Yeah.
to have built some type of relationship. You have to be relatable.
Yeah.
And when I talk to a prospect, whether they're a $2 million luxury home builder or the CFO of a $200 million general contractor,
Yeah.
I always try and relate some of my experiences to what they're going through. I tell
Mhm.
anecdotes, I tell stories, I share
Yeah.
war stories. I even share failures, I share struggles because
Yeah.
that humanizes the conversation. We're all people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it takes something for a business owner to go on the internet and go, I need some help with something in my business that I can't understand. And they find us, they read an article that I wrote or one of my team members wrote,
Yeah.
it resonates for them. And they took a chance and they booked a free consultation with us off the website.
Mhm.
When I called them for that consultation, I have to remember this is a person that's literally willing to ask for help. And it's a big thing as a construction being in construction. We have big egos and we don't necessarily like to admit we
Yeah.
don't know something. So I
Yeah.
have to always remember this is somebody who's actually admitting they don't know something and they can't solve something and they're looking for some help. And I always go into every sales call to try and again build rapport, find out what's really going on, and even if they're not a good fit for us, is there some piece of advice I can offer them, or some guidance, or some tidbit of information I can give them that
Yeah.
will have them say, I got something out of that phone call, whether they do business with us or not. My goal is always to try and make a friend on those phone calls and establish some type of a relationship.
Definitely, yeah, and it's not one of those things where, especially in the business that you're in, and in most kind of consulting practices, what we've noticed is it's not like you're not selling peanuts here, right? So it's not like it's
Right.
a low ticket sale that you're able to just get someone over the line. It requires that trust, right? Trust needs to be built with you, and that you are the expert in what it's and what is that you say you can do, and you can fulfill upon the outcome that you say you can, right? So it does require
Exactly.
that level of trust in order to make sales, right? Because that's all it is when you really at the fundamental level, when you think about sales, is does that person trust you enough to be able to deliver upon the outcome that you say you can, right? And
It's very similar to hiring. an employee, you should be very confident that before you hire somebody, that they're a good fit for your organization,
Yeah.
both skills wise and culturally,
Yeah.
and that they can deliver on what you need them to deliver on. And I encourage our clients and our prospects to consider that when they're considering hiring a consultant or comparing us to other consultants. Who do you feel like would be a better fit for you culturally? Who seems to know their stuff? Not that there's not other consultants out there that do what we do for the construction industry. There's not a lot. We don't have a lot of competition in the space, but we're not a fit for everybody, and not everybody's a fit for us.
Yeah.
And we want to make
Yeah.
sure that we're a good fit for the organization and that they're ready to do the work. This is not an easy button most of the time when they're calling us. It's
Yeah.
these are
Yeah. Yeah.
these are deep reaching changes they want to make in their business, and they have to be prepared to navigate that change process, and we're there
I
to
mean,
help.
and I'm
But
curious, like when it comes to that, like even, when you talk to these, and I'm sure it definitely, you see a multitude of different problems that arise, but what are some of those like, specific problems that come up during your conversations, right? And like, what's the advice that you give to these people? Like, even if they want to work with you per se, right? Like, hey, here's what you should go and implement. Here's what you should go do. I know it's a broad question, but I'm curious
it
to.
is. Let me try and tackle it from a couple of different common complaints we hear,
Yeah,
common
yeah,
problems we
yeah.
hear.
Please,
So
please.
there's a software on the market called Procore. It's the leading construction project management software globally now. They've done a
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
fantastic job of marketing it. It's really a great product. It's
Yeah.
not for everybody, and it's gotten very complicated to implement and use effectively. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're certified Procore consultants. We get a lot of calls from people who've had Procore for 3 months or 3 years, and they're saying, we're just not getting our money's worth out of this thing. It can do so much more, and we can't figure it out on our own. Procore has not been very helpful in helping us maximize it, and we don't know if we should keep it or not. Is this something you could help us with?
Yeah.
So so even if we're not going to work with them, the first thing I'm asking them is, well, what had you get Procore in the first place? And how
Yeah.
are you using it? And how is it helping you? And what are some areas that you think it could help you in? And why aren't you using them? Like, I'm trying to get to kind of root cause. Is it we
Yeah.
just don't have the time to get to it? We don't understand it? Or do they have something complicated that they're trying to make it do that the software can't do? So
Yeah.
if I can figure that out, I can at least give them some guidance. I can say, look, the software can do what you want it to do. This is probably where you need to start looking. It's like these settings in here, or do you understand how this module interacts with that module? Let me give them some explanation about the technical
Mm-hmm,
operating of it.
mm-hmm.
Other times we've had clients go, I needed to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, the software is not this. Like, they want to do field T&M, time and material tickets, and they want to turn that into a priced like invoice for a discrete project, and it's not really inside of a project. And I'm like, it's not like a billing software. It doesn't
Yeah.
do what they want it to do specifically. So I can at least give them the hard answer, which is,
Yeah.
you don't have the right product to do what you want it to do. Procore
Mm.
can't do that. It's not designed to do that, and there's no way to make it do that.
Yeah.
So, but here's some other things that might be up your alley, that might,
Yeah.
check the box that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about how Procore could benefit you, we could talk about that too. But again, trying to suss out exactly what's going on so I can at least steer them in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something that's super important there, in every conversation that you're having, right? Especially when people are coming to you for advice, right? They often come to you with symptoms, right? Symptoms of
Mhm.
of problems, right? We're having this challenge, we're having this challenge. Okay, well, like, well, what's causing that? Where is the gap there? Because if you
Right.
try to just address the problem or the symptoms of the problems, you're never going to actually fix the root cause, to your point, and that's what I feel is like really important about being that trusted advisor, even, when you are talking to prospects, talking with even clients, right, and different things that come up with them. It's how are you solving the root problem of the issue, or are you tackling just a challenge or the symptom,
Right.
right? So
Right. The symptoms.
super important advice there. I'm curious to get your take on this, Adam, right? Because you've obviously, been growing your company now for 10 years, and it's, you've probably run into it. There's troughs, right? With every business that goes up, it goes down, right? There's always great moments, low moments, and it's a journey, right, that you go through.
It is.
What advice would you give to yourself, right? If you had to kind of, go back to when you first started the business, what advice would you tell yourself at that point to maybe help you kind of accelerate some of your success?
Wow. Um, I'm just going to give a off the cuff plug because I love your analogy of highs and lows, right? There's a book I read years ago by Darren Hardy called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. I highly
Mhm.
recommend it for anybody who's even thinking about starting a business, but especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's a great book. I've read it multiple times.
Mhm.
Um, what would I tell myself 10 years ago? I mean, there's probably something around try and go faster and farther. Like go a little out of your comfort zone. I think I took a very conservative, cautious, measured approach to it for the first 4 or 5 years because I was still kind of maybe getting my feet underneath me. Like I'd never been a consultant. I didn't go to business school
Yeah.
officially. I didn't get like an MBA. I've got a business degree, an undergraduate degree, but I've never built a business like this before. I'd been in construction management, but being a consultant was like stretching my wings a little bit. So I kind of took a
Yeah.
few years to kind of figure it out and get better. And I got training and I took consulting, courses and I read a lot of books. There's a lot of
Yeah.
books I read.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe I would have given myself a short list of books that would have been most impactful.
Yeah.
Um, I certainly would have encouraged me to, go for it a little earlier, like raise prices sooner, stretch yourself, take on a project that you have no idea how to do and
Yeah.
get paid to figure it out. Like I tried
Yeah.
to do that incrementally and I didn't just jump in the deep end, but looking back, if I could tell myself now, like you'll figure it out, go ahead, go for it. I probably would
Yeah.
have pushed to get bigger faster, a little faster, not a lot, but maybe 50% faster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's almost like having you know, the confidence, right? That you can figure those things out. I think that's so important, especially when you're starting early on and, doing any type of business, right? Consulting and in the B2B space, right? There is that element of, oh, if you haven't really come across something before, you're a little bit hesitant to want to figure it out. But I feel like as entrepreneurs, or we have some, most people have that thing in there where it's like, I'll figure it out. Like, you give me enough time, I won't sleep until I get this done. Like, so that I think having, that mindset as well will allow you to take on those bigger challenges, take on those bigger bets, which, hey, in some cases, and
Yeah,
maybe it blows up in your face, but you actually learn so much from even taking on those challenges too. Right. That
yeah.
you get in lessons, you get from that as well. So every single,
You get yeah, you get reps, you get experience.
mhm.
Another thing I would have told myself 10 years ago, write more. Like
Mm,
more content, write more content because our
yeah,
content has really been the driver, as I said, of everything. And now we've just started our own podcast in the last 6 months, and we're getting a lot of traction on the podcast
nice,
now,
nice.
and it's supplementing all the written content. I mean, I'll share this tidbit. Over 90% of our customers come to us as inbound leads because of our content.
Wow, wow,
We
wow.
do almost no cold outreach. I haven't made a cold call in 5 or 6 years. I rarely talk to somebody that we found. I almost only talk to people who found us and booked a meeting with us. Like they are raising their hand and going, "I want to talk to you. I think you could help me." So that's the power of great content.
I love it. I agree. I think it's one of those like it's one of those investment accounts that you make, right? Like you
Yeah,
do one piece of content today, you keep doing, you keep building, and you're almost building. It's like this snowball effect that happens as you continue to create more and more, and it has this compounding effect. And so my biggest advice to people when it comes to content is like start today, start small, start with whatever you can, start putting stuff out there because it's gonna eventually snowball into something bigger, and then you're gonna be like, wow, I should have done more from the start. I should have been doing more, right?
right.
So that's how it always is, right? Um,
And now with AI, they have the AI reading it. So now it's not just about volume of content, it's about quality of content because the AI is getting smarter and smarter and it can distinguish between valuable content and fluff pieces that are just stuffed full of keywords.
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, hey, Adam, it's been a pleasure getting the chance to hear a little bit more about what you guys are doing, what you're building. It's definitely something special. I know you sprinkled a couple of nuggets of wisdom in here for people to take away. I hope they do. If people are listening to this, man, and they want to either, first of all, I know you have your own podcast, check out your podcast, maybe follow you guys. What are some good ways to go ahead and interact with you and the company?
Yeah, I mean, the best way would be first to go to our website, ascentconsults.com. Everything is on the website. Links to our podcast, which is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're pretty active on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just LinkedIn/Adam Cooper. I was one of those early LinkedIn guys that got his name without a whole bunch of numbers and stuff after it. But everything's on our website. And of course, if you want to reach out to me directly, my email is acooper@ascentconsults.com.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll make sure to include those in the description for people to go check out. Thanks again for coming on the show. If you guys did make it all the way to the end, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And go check out Adam and the team and what they're building over at Ascent. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day and take it easy.